Welrod, the Welrod Emika, I, MK2, and MEMK I2A were integrally suppressed pistols produced by Birmingham Small Arms Company with parts from unnamed wartime contractors, developed at the Inter-Services Research Bureau's Station 9 in 1942 under Major Hugh Reeves. The design addressed a specific requirement from the Special Operations Executive for a near-silent weapon suitable for clandestine work in occupied Europe. The designation Welrod combined well for Welwyn, the Station 9 connection, and period slang rod for gun. The tubular profile without its magazine prompted the bicycle pump nickname in some circles. It operated as a manually cycled bolt action with a knurled rear knob that rotated to lock and unlock. The suppressor formed the main body tube and combined an expansion chamber with metal baffles and replaceable rubber wipes, while a ported barrel bled gas to keep muzzle velocity subsonic. The detachable single-stack magazine doubled as the grip with 6 rounds in 9mm or 8 in 32 ACP. The trigger system minimized mechanical noise. Careful cycling allowed quick follow-ups while retaining discretion. Chamberings covered 9mm for the MKY and 32 ACP for the MK2 and MK2A. Effective range in daylight hovered around 25 yards, dropping to single-digit yards at night, where point-blank application made best use of suppression. Roughly 2,800 were produced during the war, with post-war totals reaching into the tens of thousands. Markings were intentionally sparse serials and cryptic symbols rather than national identifiers to maintain deniability. Issuance included SOE and OSS personnel and resistance cells. Later use appears in Vietnam, Cold War Special Operations, the Falklands, and even Desert Storm. Its lack of overt markings, the grip as magazine layout, and the concave muzzle are visually distinct. Limited distribution and the classified nature of its missions kept it out of public view, and later attention shifted toward semi-automatic suppressed pistols such as the high-standard HDM, yet the Welrod remains the benchmark for mechanical quiet in a purpose-built covert sidearm. Type 94, Nambu. The Type 94 Nambu in 8x22mm. Nambu came from Kijiro Nambu's private firm under the Nagoya Army Arsenal's oversight. Conceived as a compact, economical officer's sidearm for troops in cramped spaces, tank crews, airmen, and paratroopers, it entered production in 1935 and continued through 1945. Mechanically, it used a short recoil, locked breech system with a rising locking block, a concealed internal hammer in lieu of earlier Nambu strikers, and a single recoil spring wrapped around the barrel. The 6-round magazine, latched by friction, can be difficult to seat with the slide forward. A prominent sear bar on the left connects trigger to hammer and, when the pistol is cocked and the manual safety off, can discharge the pistol if pressed, a real but conditional hazard that drove much of the post-war reputation. Typical muzzle velocity for the 8x22mm cartridge is about 305 meters per second, with practical accuracy inside 25 to 50 meters. Stopping effect lagged behind more powerful Allied or German service cartridges, and late-war ammunition quality varied as supply chains deteriorated. Production estimates cluster around 71,000 pistols, though incomplete serial practices, particularly in 1945, complicate exact totals. Surviving examples range from well-finished pre-war pieces to crude end-of-war guns lacking inspection marks. Service history spans the Second Sino-Japanese War through the Pacific War, largely with the Army. Field users valued compactness in confined vehicles, but questioned safety and reliability, a perception reinforced by American trophy accounts after 1945. The pistol's markings, including arsenal characters and serials that often mismatched late in the conflict, help place individual guns on a production timeline, the exposed sear bar narrative overshadowed its intended role as a cost-reduced sidearm, and post-war Japanese adoption of Western systems limited any design legacy. Sauer 38H J.P. Sauer and Sohn introduced the Sauer 38H in 1938 as a compact officer and police pistol, most commonly in .32 ACP. It competed with Walther and Mauser for contracts while offering a novel control layout. The 38H combined a fixed-barrel blowback action with a double-action/single-action trigger and, critically, a left-side lever that both cocked and safely decocked the hammer. This dual-function lever set it apart from contemporaries with separate or absent controls. The 8-round single-stack magazine fed a compact steel frame with Bakelite grips bearing the SUS logo. Late-war cost-cutting removed or simplified some features, and grip panels could crack under use. Ballistics reflect the .32 ACP service norm with velocities near 280 meters per second and effective ranges on the order of 25 meters in roll as a close-range sidearm. Production likely reached the hundreds of thousands across commercial, police, and Luftwaffe channels. Issue concentrated in police, Air Force, and rear echelon units, with examples exported or turning up under occupation and, occasionally, in resistance hands. The combined cocking/decocking lever influenced post-war Sig Sauer designs, establishing a line from the 38H to later double-action autos. Presentation pieces with engraving and precious material grips for senior officials illustrate the model's presence in official circles, while late-war phosphate finishes and omitted controls show the industrial pressures of 1944-45. Mauser HSC Mauser's HSC Hahn Selbstspanner Model C entered production in 1940 after design work by Alex Seidel, intended as a compact officer and police pistol to replace older Mauser automatics. It competed directly with the Walther PP, PPK, and Sauer 38H, straddling commercial and service markets from the outset. The HSC is a fixed-barrel and simple blowback pistol with a double-action/single-action trigger and a semi-exposed hammer. The single-stack magazine holds 8 rounds of .32 ACP with limited .380 ACP runs. Early pistols exhibit refined machining and deep bluing. Later examples shift to coarser machining and phosphate finishes as resources tightened. Velocity for .32 ACP loads sits just below 300 meters per second, aligning performance with other compact service pistols. Wartime production reached roughly 250,000 pistols for German contracts, with total output across decades exceeding 300,000 when post-war runs are included. Post-1945 French occupation authorities continued production for their forces, and the model reappeared in various roles before a late 20th century commercial revival. Compared with the Sauer's innovative control lever, the HSC retained more conventional ergonomics, but delivered a sleek exterior and reliable function. Its profile in wartime photography is common, yet later narratives focused on other German handguns, which let the HSC quietly bridge pre-war commercial elegance and late-war austerity. Radom WIS WZ-35 Polish WIS Poland's Pistole Wzór 35 Wises, commonly called the Radom WIS, originated at Fabryka Broni in Radom under Piotr Wilniewczyk and Jan Skrzypiński. Adopted in 1935 to consolidate a patchwork of inherited sidearms. The WIS provided a domestically engineered 9mm service pistol for a modernizing army. After the 1939 invasion, production continued under German control as Pistole 35P, a rebranding that complicated the pistol's identity in post-war memory. The design uses a short recoil, tilting barrel system with Browning lineage but without the M1911's swinging link, the barrel cams on a solid frame surface. It is single-action and hammer-fired with a grip safety and a slide-mounted lever that functions as a decocker rather than a conventional manual safety. The 8-round magazine and trapezoidal grip frame support stable handling. Typical 9mm performance yields velocities around 345 meters per second with effective range at 50 meters for practical use. Pre-war deliveries reached tens of thousands before the German invasion. Total wartime production across Polish and occupation periods likely exceeded several 100,000. Polish workers concealed and smuggled components under occupation to assemble pistols for the Home Army, which then saw use in the Warsaw Uprising. Markings vary from pre-war FB and VIS grip emblems to occupation slide legends and factory codes. The decocker mechanism differentiates the VIS among WWII service pistols, and the magazine release behind the trigger guard anticipates later European control layouts. Its reputation among specialists rests on robust build and favorable ergonomics. Post-war politics and Warsaw Pact standardization curtailed continued production, but limited modern reissues revived collector interest and preserved a domestic achievement that had been overshadowed by the occupation designation. Frommer Stop. Rudolf Frommer's stop pistol traces to 1911 design work at Fegyver Esgépgyár in Budapest, with primary wartime service dating to World War I and later Hungarian use extending into the World War II period. The base pistol appeared in several service designations, while small numbers of experimental twin-mounted machine pistol rigs saw testing as Austria-Hungary explored high-rate aircraft and ground solutions. Mechanically, the stop is distinctive a long recoil system with a rotating bolt and separate return springs for barrel and bolt housed in a cylinder above the barrel. This architecture produced a visually tall receiver profile uncommon among .32 .380 class pistols. The single-stack magazine held 8 rounds. While later Hungarian pistols moved to simple blowback operation for practicality, the stop persisted with the locked long recoil scheme rooted in Frommer's earlier designs. Chamberings included a proprietary 7.65 by 17 mm Frommer long with higher velocity than typical .32 ACP and later .380 ACP variants for export, including a limited 1939 run. The experimental twin mounts used extended magazines of about 25 rounds per pistol and mechanical linkages to the sears. Tests did not lead to adoption, and the concept was superseded by a Villar-Perosa type system produced elsewhere. Production stretched from 1912 to 1918 resumed in the interwar period, and briefly returned for export in 1939. Distribution included Austro-Hungarian service, sales to Bulgaria, Germany, and Turkey, and later Royal Hungarian Army use. The stop is remembered less for numbers or battlefield fame than for the unusual decision to apply long recoil mechanics to a small caliber service pistol, a path Hungarian designers soon abandoned in favor of simpler blowback designs. CZ-VZ-27. The Czech VZ-27, later styled CZ-27 in commercial parlance, is a simple blowback service and police pistol in .32 ACP developed by František Miška and produced from 1927 to 1951. It simplified the earlier VZ-22 and VZ-24 locked barrel lineage by adopting a fixed barrel blowback layout more suitable to the lower pressure cartridge. Under German occupation, the factory operated as Böhmische Waffenfabrik, and German records labeled the pistol Pistole 27T. The fixed barrel is 99 mm long. The single-stack magazine holds 9 rounds, and overall length is about 162 mm, with unloaded weight near 709 grams. While safety details vary by run, some German-manufactured examples integrated barrels compatible with a silencer, a feature that later found use in intelligence work. Velocity for 32 ACP loads is roughly 280 meters per second, with practical employment at typical officer and police distances. Production exceeded 500,000 pistols across pre-war, occupation, and post-war runs, and the VEZ-27 remained in service into the early 1960s before the VEZ-50 replaced it domestically. German forces adopted both captured stocks and new manufacture during the war, while post-war exports sent pistols to various countries. Occupation markings, including the FNH code, and grip logo variations help place a particular pistol. West German intelligence retained silenced examples after the war, an illustration of how a straightforward interwar design extended into Cold War clandestine roles. The VEZ-27's long production life and wide distribution made it an everyday tool rather than a headline weapon. And that ubiquity, paradoxically, helped it fade from the broader narrative. Model 1935. A France's pistolet automatique model 1935. A, commonly associated with SACM and designer Charles Petter, emerged from the mid-1930s trials to standardize a new service sidearm. Production began in 1937, deliveries reached the Army by late 1939, and after the 1940 occupation, the same factory turned out additional pistols for German use as Pistole 625F. The mechanism is a short recoil, Browning-derived locking system, but the 1935A incorporated several departures from M1911 practice, including elimination of the barrel bushing and a full-length recoil spring guide. A self-contained fire control unit houses trigger, hammer, mainspring, and sear. The 8-round single-stack magazine feeds the 7.65 by 20 mm long cartridge, a French service round of the interwar period. Muzzle velocity for the 7.65 long is cited near 345 meters per second, aligning with a high-speed, small-caliber service philosophy. Production totals before occupation were around 10,000, with German procurement adding more than 20,000 and post-1944 French contracts exceeding 50,000 by mid-century. The pistol served not only in World War II, but in post-war conflicts including Indochina and Algeria as stocks remained in inventory. The German occupation designation marks wartime examples, while the fire control unit is a feature of interest to historians and armorers. In 1937, SIG licensed Petter's design path for what became the Swiss Model 47/8 and later the P210, linking the 1935A to one of the most highly regarded post-war service pistols. Beretta M 1934. The Beretta Model 1934 is a compact 380 ACP service pistol adopted by the Royal Italian Army in the mid-1930s. Beretta drew on its World War I automatic pistol experience and on interwar interest in compact double-action autos from abroad, refining a simple blowback design with Beretta's characteristic open-slide profile. Operation is straightforward: a fixed barrel, slide-mounted open ejection port, and a single-stack 7-round magazine. The slide does not automatically remain open when the magazine is removed, unless the safety is engaged. To hold it open, it returns forward, a small ergonomic quirk relevant to reloads. The 380 ACP cartridge provides manageable recoil and adequate short-range performance in the intended officer and crew-served roles. Velocity figures in service loads are around 290 meters per second, with practical effective range about 40 meters. Production began in 1934 and continued for decades, with total manufacture exceeding 1 million pistols. Italy issued the M1934 broadly. Exports reached Romania and Finland, and captured stocks saw partisan and German use. The model's long service into the late 20th century ensured widespread survival. Markings and national variants. such as Romanian 9mm skirt slides and differences in sight pictures. Give the MA 1934 a broad catalog of subtypes for researchers and collectors. The open slide profile became a Beretta hallmark that carried into post-war designs. The model's combination of longevity, production volume, and officer pistol roll places it in many period photographs, while giving it less prominence in discussions centered on full-size combat sidearms. Astra 300. Astra WWII developed the Astra 300 in 1922 as a compact derivative of the larger Astra 400, with production running from 1923 to 1946. Spain's neutral posture during World War II and the company's export capacity positioned the pistol as a small-frame sidearm for multiple services and buyers. Deliveries to Germany totaled on the order of tens of thousands between 1941 and 1944, while earlier and parallel sales served Spanish prisons, navy, and police. The pistol uses a fixed barrel, simple blowback system in 32 ACP or 380 ACP with a single-stack magazine of 6 or 7 rounds, depending on chambering. Overall length of about 160 mm, a 98mm barrel, and weight around 630 grams place it among the compact service/police automatics of the era, while mechanical decoration was minimal on standard-issue guns. The firm produced richly finished presentation pistols for award or diplomatic purposes. Ballistic specifics vary by chambering. The roll expectations close-range effectiveness with moderate recoil mirror those of other compact service pistols. Total production exceeded 150,000 pistols across 2 decades. In addition to German contracts during the war, smaller lots went to the Soviet Union during the late 1930s, and post-war dispositions sent ex-German pistols into Norwegian police service. The pistol saw both practical service and ceremonial use, illustrating the breadth of its distribution. A compact profile and close mechanical relation to the Astra 400 give the 300 family resemblance while tailoring size for officers and police. Its wartime export path makes it part of a transnational small arms story, connecting Spanish interwar industry, German wartime procurement, and post-war European police use. Really appreciate you watching all the way through. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with other firearm enthusiasts who'd enjoy it too. Got an idea for the next topic? Leave it in the comments. We'd love to hear what you want covered next. Thanks for tuning in.